The show starts in 3, 2, 1.
There goes that man's jock strap.
Oh my God, did you see that?
America's team? Yeah, right.
Oh, baby, it's a big day in sports.
There's nothing like battling it out with your teammates all season long to go win a championship.
Green Bay's got it this year.
Huge move for them. I think it's going to be a game changer.
We have a lot to talk about this busy week in the sports world. Welcome to the In a League of Their Own podcast.
The In a League of Their Own podcast is brought to you exclusively by YouTube. By Golf Kicks, Screw Your Shoes. By Anchor, the easiest way to make a podcast. By Canadips, a CBD pouch crafted and manufactured in Humboldt, California. And by Streamer Loot. Check out the In a League of Their Own merch line today. Welcome to the show. Here are your hosts, Austin and Collin.
Hey man, how is it going today?
Oh, it's going, day before Thanksgiving, a lot to be thankful for. How's it going for you?
Good. Just doing that 24-hour fast beforehand, got to make room for all the food tomorrow. So, fun slate of games tomorrow. We'll kind of dive into those a little bit, starting with the NFL. What do you got?
Tom Brady being ranked number one as a quarterback by Pro Football Focus. Do you think he's deserving of that rating? If so, why? And if not, why not? And currently, Aaron Rodgers is 13th, Kirk Cousins is second, and Justin Herbert is third.
I mean, Rodgers at 13 stats wise, it kind of makes sense because he's not really up there in yards. He's not up there in touchdowns. He's had 2 games this year where he's had 0 touchdown games. So, I mean, it kind of makes sense to see him outside the top 10. Although, I mean, as a Packers fan, it's like, all right, he's definitely year in and year out a top 5 quarterback. But again, Pro Football Focus goes based off of every year how that player is doing. So, looking at Tom Brady at number 1, though, I think he's a little high. And you said Herbert and Kirk Cousins.
Kirk Cousins is second, 2. And Herbert is third.
Yeah, thinking about it, and again, they just kind of got back relevant again. But Patrick Mahomes, doesn't he lead the league in passing yards? And touchdowns.
Nope, Tom Brady's got 29.
Okay.
Mahomes has 25 and 11 picks. Brady's got 29 touchdowns, 8 interceptions. And then you look at Kirk Cousins, he's 21-2. Rodgers is 21-4, and he missed a game. And he also had another game without his top 3 wide receivers. So if he would have played all the games and had all of his weapons, he could easily be at 30 touchdowns right now.
Yeah, but if you take away his 2 games with no touchdowns, and like you said, the game. Well, I mean, because he had 2 throwing touchdowns against Arizona, because both of them were to Cobb, I think. I'm pretty sure. So I mean, he still got touchdowns there, but nonetheless, if he had all of his receivers, he could have 4 or 5. Who knows?
And then the week that he was out for COVID.
Yeah.
Who did we play? The Chiefs stink.
Yeah.
So he probably would have had 5 touchdowns.
Yeah. That was a 13-7 game. It was like, again, we were like, after that game.
Yeah, Love had better stats than Mahomes did.
Yeah, he threw for more yards. I think his completion percentage might have been better too. But yeah, I mean, I guess I could see where they're coming from having Tom Brady at 1, just because, again, most touchdowns. Although Kirk Cousins has the best interception to touchdown ratio,
and Rodgers has the best QBR.
Yeah, I don't know. Then that's weird. Then if Rodgers has the best QBR, I feel like
106.6. Matthew Stafford second, Kirk Cousins is second with a 106.3. and Stafford's 106.1 as far as QBR. Tom Brady's 104.3. So 2.3 points less QBR.
Yeah, I mean, all those guys are having great years, but I think I'd bump Herbert down a spot and throw Patrick Mahomes up there in the top 3 right now.
He's got a 94.7.
Yeah, but then he still leads in yards, and has
Yep.
multi
He has 23 more
touchdown.
yards than Tom Brady.
Yeah, has multi. Well, that's the thing. Has both of them have their bye week yet though?
Yes, both of them have.
Okay, I was gonna say that'd be more. I guess if
Tampa just got off of theirs, and I think Kansas City had theirs. Let me check, just to double check.
because if Mahomes is only leading by 23 yards and he hasn't had his bye week yet, then he has a full more game played. Because they are
They
seven.
play Sunday, then they play 7 days after that, 4 days after that, 10 days.
Well, what's their record?
They're 7-4.
So yeah, they haven't had a bye week then, because it's week 12. They have 11 games played. So in that case, Mahomes has one more game played than Brady with only 23 more yards.
Yeah.
So, I mean, nonetheless, he still leads in yards. It's not to say like, oh, if you take that game away, he's trash. But it's like, yeah, I don't know. Those ratings are always interesting because it's like Pro Football Focus has a different. If you go into ESPN ratings, NFL Network ratings, like how work like top 5, top 10 QBs. Some of them are the same, some of them are different. So it all depends on the experts, the analysts looking at what specific stats to make those lists. But I mean, nobody on that list that you mentioned, the top 3 is like, oh, they don't belong there. But it's like,
I think Kirk Cousins actually should be number 1. I think Rodgers should be number 2, and then I would put probably Brady at 3 or Mahomes, just due to the 21 touchdowns, 2 picks. Like Kirk Cousins normally has a lot of picks, and he's on it this year. He has the least picks thrown in the whole entire league. So I don't know. I feel like Kirk Cousins currently should be potentially maybe number 1.
yeah, I mean, yeah, I definitely agree. Would make a case for moving Cousins to 1, 2. Just efficiency. I mean, anytime that because you said 20, he's 21-2, so that's basically
Yep.
He throws almost 11 touchdowns before he throws a pick this year, which is really good. That's like better than Rodgers. Rodgers' career is like just a touch over 4.
It's like
4.1 touchdowns to a pick. Again, which goes to show, hats off to Cousins having a good year at basically 11-1, but do that for 17, 18 years. You're not, yeah, that's tough. Nobody does it. I mean, Rodgers is the best to do it at 4.1. So, yeah. My question for you, kind of going with a Thanksgiving theme here for a couple of questions. Thanksgiving Day features a perennial appearance from the Detroit Lions. Given their misfortune for many years, is it time to replace them with another team on Thanksgiving Day?
I don't think so. This is just such a tradition of the NFL. I even like watching the Lions play on Thanksgiving. Usually they get a little bit of luck on their side, hence that's why I'm taking them over the Bears tomorrow. I think the Lions get their first win Thanksgiving Day. Usually you also see some big performances from a handful of athletes as well on those special days, whether it's Christmas or Thanksgiving. So who knows what we have in store for tomorrow? And I just like, I don't know. It wouldn't be the same without it being the Lions, and having them be so bad usually makes for a pretty interesting game on Thanksgiving, since They usually play a team that's kind of either in contention or there's a big storyline around another team. So getting them to play the Bears, I feel like it couldn't match up perfectly. Like, do the Lions beat the Bears and cause Nagy to get fired? Like, it's just a lot of storylines, and I don't know. I feel like Detroit's always in those crazy storylines, so might as well keep it that way.
Yeah, I agree. I know, like, some people, like, I mean, maybe ratings would be a touch better, but also at the same time, like, given the holiday, I feel like no matter what 6 teams you see playing on Thanksgiving Day, you're gonna have millions of people watching it. And kind of thinking about it too, like, even though, yeah, the Lions have stunk for years and years, it's like, give them this one thing, like, let them have it. Like, let them kind of have their one holiday a year where everybody kind of gets to watch them. And like you said, this year too, it kind of fits that perfect narrative of Lions haven't won a game. Bears have lost 5 straight. There was that rumor from patch.com that came out that Matt Nagy was informed he was going to be fired after this Thursday's game. He came out yesterday
And said that it wasn't true.
and said it wasn't true. But I mean, I would assume it isn't true. I mean, I've never heard of patch.com. So, I mean, a lot of those smaller websites looking to stir some shit up just to get clicks on their site. I mean,
I have heard, though, that he has skipped meetings this week with the upper management that normally they have week to week. And he decided to skip those this week in order to prepare on a short week for Thursday's game. So who knows if that has anything to do with this whole stir up, but he's definitely got to be on that hot seat.
oh yeah, if with this rumor already floating out there, like, for everybody to look at, if the Lions do get their first win on the year, you can't, like, I feel like so often too, at least in years past, Thanksgiving is kind of that, like, we're a little bit past halfway. Teams are having a
7 games left.
teams are having a shit year, like the Bears, like the Dolphins, Jags. Obviously, both of those teams are earlier along with their coaching. And I think Mike Flores is a better coach than people give him credit for. But as for Nagy, you're on national television. Like, you gotta go out there and beat to win this Lions. If you don't, maybe the management takes advantage of that rumor and they're like, you know what? Like, they kind of already got the ball rolling. You're gone. So, but I feel like whether that rumor was a thing or not already this week, I think that if you're the Bears higher ups, that's in the back of your mind of we're ass, we're lost 5 in a row, we're 3-7 right now. We lose to the Lions, you're gone. So
yeah, if I do recall, I think he was even on the hot seat at the start of the year.
oh yeah, because they told him, like, we need to see improvement. We want to see a winning season, back to the playoffs, like some kind of improvement. And 5 straight losses have shown otherwise. And again, with this whole quarterback carousel, oh, Andy Dalton's our guy. Healthy or not? Oh no, Fields is in. Oh, as soon as Dalton's healthy, he's back in. Dalton gets healthy. No, we're sticking with Fields. Fields goes, like, he just looks incompetent at times.
I feel like none of that's his call.
Yeah, well, yeah. I mean, it obviously
They
isn't,
probably
because he
took
comes
that-
out and says something, and then the higher ups are like, "No, we're gonna do this instead." So it makes him look stupid, even though, like, he comes out and says this is what he has said to cameras. It's like, this is what I want to do, but the higher ups are like, "No, we have the last say." So
Yeah, which is kind of fucked up because you'd think that the head coach should have reins over his team of who's going to play.
yeah, you would think so.
And then sticking with the Lions here, do you see them finishing at the bottom of the league and getting the number 1 pick? Or do you see them not finishing last? And who would finish last?
The Texans are still a 1-win team, correct?
No, 2. They won this
2.
last weekend.
Oh yeah, that's right. That's right. And then Jags have 2. Dolphins have 3 as well, I believe. So
And Jets have 2.
Jets have 2. I mean, I feel like this weekend kind of sets that in motion. If the Lions don't win, I say, yeah, the Lions end up finishing either winless or maybe squeak out 1 or 2 wins. but all the teams ahead of them, the Texans, I'm probably still have to play the Jags. So one of those teams could still get their third win on the year.
Yeah, their remaining schedule real quick is the Bears tomorrow, Vikings, Broncos, Cardinals, Falcons, Seahawks, ending with Green Bay.
So Falcons and
Broncos
are kind of the two
and
best chances for a
Seahawks.
win. Yeah, and Seahawks.
And tomorrow. So they realistically have a chance to win 4 of their last 8 games, 7 games.
Yeah, I mean, I'm still going to stick with just kind of with that first benchmark to hit. If the Lions win tomorrow, I think it's going to be a toss up. We'll obviously wait to see how the last few games play out. But if they lose, then I'm going to say that they end up with the 1 spot.
I'm gonna go with the Jags. I think the Jags are gonna finish dead last. I think the Lions are gonna win tomorrow. They're gonna catch some steam, especially since they've lost a couple heartbreakers already this year that they should have won. I feel like this is gonna be the game that they finally, and this is like the 4th time that I picked the Lions this year. This time they're finally gonna get it done. Thanksgiving Day. I think they're gonna finally get a little bit of magic.
Sounds good. Second Thanksgiving question. Again, we'll see a slate of 3 games tomorrow. Bears at Lions, Raiders at Cowboys, Bills at Saints. The Bears, Cowboys, and Bills are favored to win. I guess this kind of already answers the question. Who gets the Turkey Day upset?
I think the Lions and the Saints both win tomorrow.
Yeah, that's kind of the way I was leaning too. The Bills, I think they're favored by 6 right now on the road. A team that has really struggled. The only teams they beat are sub 500 teams, and I think they only have 1 win versus
They piss
teams.
pounded sub 500 teams.
Yeah, and
to
they only
make
have 1
everybody
win.
get all crazy and think that they're super good. Every good team with a good defense that they've played, they've gotten beat.
Mm-hmm.
And Drew Brees is getting his inducted, I believe, into the Saints Hall of Fame tomorrow, and his number, I believe, is being retired during the game. And he is going to be game calling as well, which is kind of interesting. I don't know why they're having him call a game on one of probably the most emotional days in his life that he's going to have. But yeah, him and Mike Tirico are on the call. So it's going to be interesting to see how that works out.
Yeah. Yeah, again, agree with you on the Lions. Hopefully they get their first win. I mean, Raiders have a good enough offense to maybe keep it close, but I feel like the Cowboys, they've been too up and down lately that they
normally win on Thanksgiving too.
Yeah, it's kind of written in the stars for them to go get a big win on Thanksgiving Day.
However, the Raiders do need a big win if they want to stay relevant in the AFC in the playoff hunt, because the Chiefs, Chargers kind of soaring. That's left them tied with the Broncos for the bottom in the AFC West. They need to get a W if they want to have any shot at making the playoffs.
Yeah, I mean, all 6 of these teams have a lot to play for.
Yeah, they're all are going to be games with a lot of storylines coming away. They're meaningful games, whether it's teams at the bottom of the NFL or it's teams battling it out for playoff spots. There's a lot on the line.
Mm-hmm. Especially for the Bills, where the Patriots have just skyrocketed to the top of the AFC East. You lose this game, and then 2 of your next 3 weeks you have to play them. Like, good luck. If you lose this, you got to win this one to give yourself a chance, and hopefully split, win your game at home, and then lose your one in New England, and then as the cards fall to end the season, see what happens there. But yeah, the Bills fall. They're in deep water. Saints too. Again, with how tight the NFC race is. one loss, you're going from a 5 seed to a 9 seed, or one win, you're going from a 9 seed to a 5 seed. Like every week, aside from
Is
really the top
important.
3 teams, they all shuffle in the top, but the rest, it's like boom, you're out, boom, you're way up in. Like it's gonna be fun coming down the stretch here.
Yeah, it definitely is. And then sticking with that NFC East that you kind of mentioned with the Cowboys playing tomorrow, with the Philadelphia Eagles now having the number 1 rushing offense, the Washington defense coming off of 2 stellar performances as well as Taylor Heineke, both teams 2-game winning streaks, 5-6 for the Eagles, 4-6 for the Washington football team. The Cowboys sit at 7-3. Do you think any team in the East is poised to challenge the Cowboys for that division lead?
The Cowboys got to play Washington. They're kind of the same boat as the Bills, aren't they? They have to play them twice in the next 3 weeks.
And the Eagles.
And the Eagles.
They haven't played one road conference game yet.
Wow. Okay. So yeah, they have a tough stretch ahead of them then. I mean, obviously with New York what's all going on there, they got rid of
At
Jason
Saints,
Garrett. So
at Saints, at Washington, at the Giants, home against Washington, Cardinals come to town, and then you're on the road last week of the season in Philly.
yeah, getting the to move to 8-3 with a win over the Raiders this year obviously would be a good step for them. If they fall, it kind of leaves that division wide open. Again, Washington defense is playing really well. Taylor Heineke is starting to get more consistent rather than every 3 or 4 games he has a good one. He's kind of putting together game after game, doing really well. And like you mentioned, the Eagles rush. They were like running the ball like 20-30% of the time for the first handful of weeks, played like ass. They're like, hey, we got a couple studs in the backfield. Let's give it to them. And of course, Hurts can move, so you can run a lot of options as well. Yeah, at 5-6, I mean the Eagles.
And this is their remaining stretch of games too. At Giants, at Jets, home against Washington, home against the Giants, on the road in Washington, and then at home against Dallas. So they have 3 easy wins.
Yeah, they have one of the. I think when I was watching, I can't remember what show it was. It might have been Good Morning Football this morning. I want to say the Eagles and the Giants have 2 of the easy, like, are in the top 5 of easiest schedules to finish the year. Obviously, for the Giants, they're not really playing. They're a little too far out of it, so
They're
more or
spoilers
less
at this point.
Yeah, they're more or less just playing to find an identity to finish the year. But the Eagles, yeah, that schedule you mentioned, at least the next 2 weeks,
Giants and Jets. Yeah.
Giants and Jets, you have an opportunity to get back above 500.
And if Dallas falls tomorrow, those 2 teams are sitting tied with 4 games remaining.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, Dallas had a perfect opportunity to run away with this division and playing good teams, playing good defenses. I mean, Denver as a whole, not a great team this year. Obviously started great, got some wins against some shitty teams, but their defense, I mean, they held the Cowboys offense to either 3 or 0 points to 3 quarters, and then just gave them chunk plays to basically get the game over with at that point. Some good defenses have finally exposed the Cowboys, the Chiefs, the Broncos. Who else did they lose to?
Bucks.
Opening night. Bucks opening night. That's right. Yeah. Again, all 3 great defenses. I mean, the Cowboys got Super Bowl Bucks defense to start the year. They've looked a little shaky since, but yeah. I mean, none of these teams are really pushovers for them to finish the year. So yeah, I like the Eagles to make it interesting. If there is a team that's going to make a run at the Cowboys, it's going to be the Eagles.
Yep, I 100% agree. I actually think the Eagles and Washington football team both are going to catch the Cowboys, and I think the Cowboys are going to record-wise be tied with Washington, and they're going to be in the 3rd spot because they're going to lose the head-to-heads.
That'd be interesting. That'd be funny to
I see
see.
Dallas stumbling just like they did last year. This NFC least, we're still going to call them that. Granted, the Eagles and the Washington football team have found their identity, it finally seems like, and their quarterback, and they know what they need to do week in and week out. Dallas, hit and miss. You never really know what you're getting. Giants, hit and miss. You never really know what you're going to get with them either.
Mhm.
And it's kind of separating where the Eagles and Washington are trending up and the Giants and the Cowboys are trending down. And there's still enough season left where I think Cowboys are going to finish third.
Yeah, for the Giants too. Again, they're just looking to play spoiler the rest of the year. Again, getting rid of offensive coordinator Jason Garrett. Former Browns head coach Freddie Kitchens is now going to be doing the play calling. Supposedly, Kitchens and Joe Judge have a history that go back to the 90s together, being on the same teams, coaching together, so they have a really good chemistry. So who knows? I feel like anytime you see a team get rid of a head coach or an offensive coordinator this late in the year, you see a lot of flea flickers, receiver pass, like a lot of crazy shit that they just pull out of nowhere just because they can, and they're just looking to find something to get a win. So, yeah, the Giants. Yeah, I could see being a spoiler to a couple teams to finish the year.
I was surprised they fired Jason Garrett, to be honest. I thought he was actually doing a pretty good job.
He was last or second to last in the league in points, third down conversion, touchdowns. Yeah, like four or
Well,
five.
just in the NFC alone, they're ahead in points of the Bears, Lions, and Falcons. They're ahead of the
But in the
Jets.
last 2 years is what they broke it down from 2020 took over in 2020 to now. He has, yeah, it was like
Look at his
worse.
fucking team.
Yeah,
Saquon hurt.
I mean they
Don't have
got
any
people
wide
this year.
receivers. You don't have any wide receivers because they're hurt.
Yeah,
Who do they got? Tony, he fucking was out 4 games. Their other wide receivers are out. They're all hurt. Not Mac Jones. Daniel Jones. He was even out himself. Like nobody on that team can stay healthy. I feel like their whole culture as a whole, Joe Judge with the being too extreme, how many players are getting hurt? How many players retired from the Giants before the season who are vets saying fuck it?
yeah.
Like clearly there's an issue there, and I think it starts with Joe Judge. I don't think it was Garrett's fault, just based on what my eyes are telling me.
Yeah.
Seems like it's a lot bigger issues than just Jason Garrett.
Well, I mean, when you let a guy like that go, the next step is Joe Judge. You know what I mean? You get rid of a D coordinator, an offensive coordinator, and shit's still not working out. It's like,
Who
all
wants to
right,
coach
next guy up.
Who wants to coach the Giants though? Let's be honest.
I mean, if you're gonna
Their team that they have right now, you're in the shitter for 3 years, 4 or 5 years at least.
yeah. Yeah, I mean, if you're gonna coach a New York team, a New York City team, well, East Rutherford, New Jersey team, I mean, the Giants are like a half a notch better than the Jets.
I'd
So
take the Jets.
yeah,
A lot younger.
yeah, that's true. You have more potential to work with. But I mean, if the Giants would stay healthy, they'd be a better team.
Oh, absolutely. Especially when you have, especially Saquon. Like, I feel so bad for that guy because he's so good when he's healthy and out there playing. And then we saw Thursday night he's banged up again now. You think he's on the IR for this, or listed as questionable, I think, for this weekend now.
Yeah, I mean, if you're Saquon, I don't know what his contract looks like, but maybe he avoids staying off the field to get healthy for next year and maybe try to go somewhere else where he can. I don't
Maybe he
know.
does something like a Todd Gurley did, who got used and abused playing in Los Angeles. And then he goes and takes a check and goes plays for the Falcons and isn't really relied on to do that much, but you finally get paid.
Yeah.
And his contract, oh my God. So this year he's making $10 million and base salary was $850,000. He's still on his rookie deal. He's still on his rookie deal from when he came into the league. Next year is the last year of his first deal, which $7 million straight up. 7.217 is what he gets from the Giants next year. And then he's unrestricted free agent in 23. So he's tied to New York for one more season, money-wise.
Yeah, I mean, he could still request out and kind of play the cards and see if they dish him out. But again, with his injury, is how much you're going to get for him. So you got to try to get as much.
And you got to think
out
for
of
the
him as you
Giants
can.
too. When are you going to get another running back like that again? If ever.
Yeah. I mean, if they stick low enough in the draft for the next couple of years, you're gonna have a stud coming out. Like, I mean,
But it's not
Wisconsin.
promising, it's not promising like a Saquon Barkley is. Like,
Yeah.
he's proven himself in the NFL that he's a very good running back.
Mm-hmm.
Where any guy out of college, you're just throwing a question mark and hoping.
Yeah. I mean, I can't remember what I think he might be. He's either senior or junior. That Malusi out of Wisconsin. Again, Wisconsin
The one that got
basically
hurt.
a factory of running backs and offensive linemen. Otherwise, that Braylon Allen, freshman, you're gonna have to wait a couple of years to get him out of the draft. But
I bet he'll stay all four.
yeah,
Try to break Jonathan Taylor's records.
and then that Michigan running back, or not
Michigan
Michigan.
State.
Michigan
Walker.
State, Kenneth Walker. I was thinking Minnesota though. Ibram, he's a
The one that
senior
got
as well.
hurt?
He got hurt first or second week of the year, whatever that was.
There's a lot of good running backs. Nebraska's running back's pretty good. There's a lot of good running backs in the country. Alabama's got 2 good running backs. Like, running backs are expendable. But if you got a guy, you got a guy.
Yeah. Sounds good. Then my last question for the NFL here. In the NFC playoff picture, the first 3 teams currently on the outside looking in are the 5-5 49ers, 5-6 Eagles, and 5-6 Panthers. Which of these teams do you see making a playoff push?
I see.
I mean, realistically, they all could, but there's only enough room for really 1, maybe 2 of them to.
Well, first I'll go with the Panthers. Let's talk about the Panthers. I don't think they have enough juice. I don't think they have enough juice to get there. I think the Eagles and the 49ers both have a great opportunity to get in. Both teams are trending up. Niners really have found their game, and they've really stuck it to their last 2 opponents. Eagles as well, them now averaging like over 200 yards and rushing their last couple. Like, they found what they do best. I feel like the Panthers, Saints have too much to play for, and especially with them on their 3-game streak, they just signed Taysom Hill to that extension. Alvin Kamara coming back. Who's their other running back that they got?
Mark Ingram.
Both
of them are questionable.
He's still listed out. Ian Rappaport today on the McAfee show said that Kamara should be a go, and Ingram should be out. So Kamara, I feel like he's a huge part of that offense. And now that they've kind of turned the reins back over to Taysom Hill instead of Trevor Siemian to kind of get the job and it rolling, I feel like the Saints hold off the Panthers for that last potential spot if the Niners and the Eagles don't, obviously don't take them. But I feel like the Panthers, Cam coming back, obviously was a huge spark to that team, a huge boost. But I feel like they're still going to need more than that to get the job done, because they couldn't even beat the Washington football team, who's, granted, they have a great defense, but you're going to be seeing great defense the rest of the way out, especially the Bucs and the Saints in your division. Everybody's going at the playoffs now. Like, I feel like Cam Newton's going to get exposed here just because he hasn't been there all year.
Yeah. Thing is, for the 49ers, I agree with you. I guess to answer the question myself, 49ers out of these three teams being the one with the chance to get into the playoffs. But if you're the 49ers, the team you're going to have to bump out is the Minnesota Vikings. Because
And they play head-to-head on Sunday.
they play this week?
Yes, they do. 3:25 on Sunday.
That's going to be a good one. Yeah, that's going to be a huge game then. Wow.
Yep.
But yeah, if
whoever wins is in the driver's seat.
Yeah, because if it ends in a tie, they got the head-to-head. But yeah, I mean, the 49ers are trending up. The Vikings are trending up. Obviously got the huge win over Green Bay last week. The other two wild cards, Saints, and then Rams are almost a lock for that 5th seed right now, just because of their record. So long as they keep trucking along. Again, they have a tough game coming into Green Bay this week. So if they drop and everybody below them wins this week, things are going to get tight there. But
they only have one easy game, the Rams, and that's next week against the Jags. They play Green Bay on the road in Arizona. Seattle coming to town. I guess you can kind of say that's. Then they go to Minnesota, to Baltimore, and then San Fran to close out the season.
Wow.
Yeah. Like the schedulers did a really good job this year making it important games the rest of the way out. Because just like we were talking about the Saints and the Panthers, Saints route is Bills, Cowboys, Jets, Bucks, Dolphins, Panthers, Falcons. And then the Panthers rest of the way out is Dolphins, Falcons, Bills, Bucks, Panthers, Bucks.
Oh, so they haven't played the Bucks at all yet.
And the Bucks are just getting going.
Yeah.
Like they're going to see the Bills middle of December when they got to they have a tough all these teams who are on the bubble in both divisions have every week is a must-win week now going forward with the only 8 games left.
Yeah, that's nuts. Yeah, sounds good. Going into college football then, Tuesday night, last night, the rankings came out. And we both gave our predictions on who we thought was going to be where. I guess starting from the top down, Georgia stays at 1. That was kind of a no-brainer. And we both predicted at 2, Ohio State moving up, taking Bama's place, just due to their huge win last week, and Alabama just barely squeaking out a win over Arkansas. So good to see that the committee is taking that into consideration and not just kind of all giving Alabama the benefit of the doubt. If they slip up, they deserve to fall down a spot.
Then we have Alabama at 3, Cincinnati at 4, which I believe you had that order correct.
Mm-hmm. I had the whole order correct for the top 6, actually. But yeah, Cincinnati at 4. Again, we talked about it countless times where they needed somebody to slip up ahead of them. They got Oregon to slip up last week, and they're now in. And they have, aside from Georgia, I think they have the second best odds to make the college football playoffs, like 67% or something, to where if they win their last regular season game and then win their championship game for their conference, they're almost a guaranteed lock, especially with Ohio State and Michigan playing this week. Having the team behind you and the team 2 spots ahead of you, one of them has to lose. That's only going to help you.
Yeah, unless it is Ohio State that falls.
But do you keep a 2-loss Ohio State ahead of
And
An
they're definitely better than Alabama. Like, that's going to be the question. Like, a
Yeah,
2-loss Ohio State is better than Alabama's look this year. Then
yeah.
Michigan would deserve credit to get in there. So you'd take Bama out, slide Cincinnati up to 2. Michigan would be 3, and Ohio State would be 4. Well, then Notre Dame, like, fuck.
Mm-hmm.
Like, they got a lot on their hands, especially with the games this weekend. Oklahoma, who's 10-1, is the furthest team down on the board at 10. They play Oklahoma State 7. Fucking Bama plays Auburn. Like, we have a lot of big games this weekend. Wisconsin and Minnesota. Like, there's a lot of games with a lot of implications on the line. University of Texas San Antonio, 11-0, sitting at the 15th spot. Do they move up? Do they keep climbing at all? I mean, I feel like them still being undefeated is pretty fucking crazy.
They're not going to be in the top 4, but they're more or less going to play spoiler to stealing a top ranked spot from another team to
And they only have one game
prevent
left,
them.
which is tomorrow.
Yeah, this is the last week for
7.
everybody, and then it goes. And the next weekend is conference championships.
Yeah, and then after that is the playoff.
Yeah, which is going to. I think there's a 3-week break because like the two semifinals are New Year's Eve, and then like how you have your New Year's 6 games, 2 or 3 of them are New Year's Eve and 3 of them are New Year's Day. So everybody's going to have a 2 or 3 week kind of break to prepare for their bowl / college football playoff games. So yeah, that'll be interesting. And usually a lot of the smaller bowl games are between in that those couple weeks in between, just to kind of keep college football on the TV, so that there's not like it's gone for 3 weeks, and then all of a sudden it comes back.
Because, like, crazy scenario, Michigan beats Ohio State. Ohio State's got 2 losses. Michigan State has 2 losses. Michigan's got 1. Wisconsin beats them in the Big Ten championship to move them to 2 losses as well. Georgia beats Alabama. They go to 2 losses. What the fuck are they going to do? Oklahoma, like I said, they're going to get it, dude. I'm telling you. They're going to be the team that everybody's like, oh, we overlooked them. They are 10-1. Let's see them, just because they get it every year.
I mean, they're definitely like way outside.
Like, looking at that, it's like, how?
Yeah, but like you said, scenario like very doable scenarios that would happen. That, like you said, Georgia beating Bama, they get 2 losses.
And Baylor's only 1 spot ahead of them, and Baylor smacked them in the mouth. Like, that doesn't make any sense.
Yeah. Well, that was like a couple weeks ago how Michigan State beat Michigan and they were ranked behind them literally 9 days after.
Makes no sense.
No.
That's why these people are on crack.
So potentially we could see. I mean,
no team outside the top 10 has a chance.
Yeah. I mean,
unless every team loses, which,
yeah,
let's be real here, that ain't happening.
No. But do we see in one scenario that we haven't really talked about, which again could happen, Alabama taking out Georgia, moving them to 1 loss? Do you think if they stay undefeated, or if they have 1 loss, do you think they stay at 1?
Georgia, yes, they're the best team, hands down.
But then, yeah. But then if Alabama does beat Georgia in the SEC championship, then you got to keep them back in the top 4. if they hand the best team in the country their only loss on the season.
But does that mean that they're better, or they were just better for 1 game?
I wouldn't say that they're a better team.
That's the thing.
They're not better.
That's the thing, because like Cincinnati's sitting at 4. They're undefeated. They're going to be undefeated. Like Notre Dame, they've had a tremendous schedule that they've played this year, and to be 10-1, like that's better than Alabama.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I just don't understand who these people are that vote on this committee. Like, it should be public so people can chirp people and know who's making these decisions. Like, are you qualified? Like, how do we know it's not some John Smith just sitting on his couch who's 83 years old, who just doesn't even watch half of the games in the West because he's sleeping at 6:30?
Yeah, what did they say? It was I think it was last week. What did the guy say that was on the committee? Set aside their win. He was talking about a specific team. He's like, set aside their wins. We have them ranked lower because of this. It's like, what do you mean set aside their wins?
Oklahoma.
Is that who he was talking about? Yeah. It's like set aside their wins. It's like, what do you mean set aside their wins? That's a little like their win-loss record is the biggest thing you look at. Is number one on the list.
That's all that matters.
Yeah. After that, it's strength of victory, strength of schedule. Those are like the next two things you look at.
Which none of that should matter. That's why he needs to go to 8.
Yeah.
College football has now gotten good enough to where there isn't just 2 teams that can hang. There's like 8.
Yeah. I mean, out of like I forget what the number was. It was over 100.
It was like 122.
Yeah. Of how many FBS teams there are, and you're gonna say, "Oh, these 4 are the best teams." Like, no.
And says who?
Exactly. Yeah, that's what the rankings are looking like. I guess. Well, since we won't be doing an episode on Friday again with the holiday, a quick pull up because on Friday we would kind of do a breakdown of the top 6 the games for the top 6 teams. So I guess let's kind of go through those quick, starting with number 1, Georgia. Again, not really worth mentioning. They play Georgia Tech. They're 35-point favorites. They're going to end the year perfect on the regular season. Looking at Ohio State at number 2, again, they play Michigan 2 versus 5 on the road at Michigan. Ohio State is 8-point favorites on the road. Who do you like in this one?
Ohio State's going to hand it to them. We'll see probably the same score that we saw them versus Michigan State, maybe.
That lopsided? Like,
yep.
I think it was 56-7 or whatever that was.
Ohio State's offense is the best I've seen this year in the country. They can score at will, and especially when they have 3 wide receivers that anytime they touch the ball, they can take it for 90 yards to the house. No team stopping this Ohio State team.
The only way I see Michigan hanging is they do have one of the better run games and time of possession. So they just
Michigan State
grind out the clock. They grind out the clock. They try to keep the ball away from Ohio State. But again, Ohio State's one of those teams where they don't need to get going. They have 2-3 play drives. All right, cool. We're off the field. Here, take the ball back. We're at your offense for 10 minutes. We'll score in 3 plays next time you give it back to us. So I guess in that case, we almost need to see more of an air attack out of Michigan to kind of go blow for blow of trying to keep.
No team has. Besides the Wisconsin Badgers defense in the Big Ten, no team has a shot to keep their offense at wraps. Oregon Ducks at that time, their defense was playing lights out. I haven't seen that out of a Big Ten defense outside of the Wisconsin Badgers since in the Big Ten. Ohio State's going to light them up.
Yeah, I agree. Moving on to number 3, we have Alabama with the iconic Iron Bowl this year at Auburn. Alabama 19.5-point favorites on the road.
I don't think they cover 19.5, but
no,
Bama's going to win.
Yeah. Auburn 3 weeks ago looked good. Like they were ranked. They were
until they lost their quarterback.
Yeah, and they looked really well. They're playing very well, beating good teams, and games are only losing by a small amount. And then last week, I think they lost to Texas A&M like 20-3 or 20-7, whatever that was. So they just had a full collapse. So yeah, had Alabama played them a couple weeks ago, I think we'd see a closer game. But yeah, I agree. Alabama by a landslide in that one. And then Cincinnati at 4 on the road at East Carolina. They are 14-point favorites in that one. I could see that being a bigger blowout than that as well. Um, Eastern Carolina. I mean, they're 7-4. I'm pulling up their schedule quick to see if they beat anybody noteworthy. Not really. They haven't played.
No, Cincinnati's going to smoke them.
Yeah.
That team is on a mission right now to prove that they deserve to be in the top 4. They ain't letting that game slip.
Yeah, I mean, they're the one team that they not only need to win out, they need to do it convincingly. Where the rest of these teams, if Michigan can squeak by beating Ohio State and winning a Big Ten championship, just getting an outright win, whether it's by 20 points or by 1 point, looks good for them. Same thing for Ohio State, same thing for Bama, all these teams. If you're Cincinnati, just getting an outright win is not enough. You have to do it convincingly to keep that number 4 spot.
See, I disagree with you. I think Bama's also in that conversation as well because they already have that loss.
Mm-hmm.
Now people are looking for a reason to not put them in.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
so them not covering these huge spreads and these that's
last
just
week
more
was an
conversation for them
example.
to not. Yep.
They dropped a spot.
And this week will be another example of them not being able to cover 19.5 points in a rivalry game. I mean, if they do, props to them and they deserve to be in the top 4. But if they can't cover the 19.5 points, I don't think that they deserve to be in that top 4.
Yeah, I agree with you on that. Again, Auburn just 6-5. They have injuries. They're just kind of imploding at this point in the year. So Alabama has a chance to step on their throat, and if they don't, yeah, we could see them drop if it's a close game. If Cincinnati wins by 4 or 5 possessions, and Alabama can only win by 1 or 2, maybe we see them drop again to 4. Again, 5, Michigan, Ohio State. We already talked about that one. And then Notre Dame, who do they play this week?
At Stanford.
Oh, yeah, that's right. That's right. And Stanford already handed Oregon one of their losses on the year. So that, I mean, not a big hurdle, but enough of a hurdle to where Notre Dame needs to, if they can.
Notre Dame's going to win.
So long as they win like convincingly, it all looks good for them. Where they're like, all right, we had Oregon. Oregon was just in the equation up until last week. Stanford beat them. Notre Dame crushed them. All right, Notre Dame is considerably better than Oregon was when they were a top 3 team. We would see Notre Dame maybe move up to 5, or I don't know if you put them at 4 though. After this week,
you can't put Notre Dame ahead of Cincinnati because Cincinnati beat Notre Dame.
Oh yeah, that's right. That's right. So the farthest they can move up is 5 this week, and that's almost with a Michigan loss that they move up to 5. If Ohio State loses, obviously Michigan moves up. Do you put Ohio State ahead or behind of Notre Dame? Again, they have 2 losses.
They're better than Notre Dame.
Yeah, they have 2 losses, but again, a better team. So the only way Notre Dame moves up is if Michigan loses. Otherwise, if Ohio State loses,
or Bama doesn't,
Bama doesn't cover, then Notre Dame stays where they are probably.
Yeah, Notre Dame or Michigan can easily knock out Alabama if they have a close game against Ohio State. Or, like you said, upset and Notre Dame winning handedly. But I just don't see any of that happening. Alabama's the best chance at not covering and moving, I think, this week.
Mm-hmm.
And who knows, Oklahoma State, if they beat Oklahoma, they could easily make that jump up as well.
Yeah, they're at 7.
And they're 10-1 as well.
And they have an opportunity too where
And they beat Baylor, the
Mhm.
team that's, so that's kind of going to be the judgment call.
That's good. That's gonna be weird though in the Big 12, where if Oklahoma wins, they play Oklahoma State again in the Big 12 championship. If Oklahoma State wins, then it's gonna be Oklahoma State Baylor, because Baylor and Oklahoma would be tied. Baylor with the head-to-head would have them second in the Big 12. So,
well, Baylor would have to win. Baylor has to win this weekend no matter what if they want a chance to get in.
oh yeah. I don't even know who they play.
They play Texas Tech. So Baylor should win.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah. So I don't know. It's going to be interesting to see how this all shakes out.
Yeah. Moving over to the NBA here then. What are your storylines for today?
First question, do you think the Bucks have any chance to be the number 1 seed in the Eastern Conference?
I'm going to say no for 2 reasons. One, because I don't think that they can put together long enough stretches they're not going to put together long enough stretches where all the teams ahead of them are going to have shit streaks, for one. And reason 2 is that I don't want them to be the 1 seed. Look at how many years they're the 1 seed. Last year, they're the 3 seed, kind of under the radar. They go win a championship. So if they're going to get back, if they're going to make another deep playoff run, get back to the ship, they got to kind of go under the radar again. Anywhere from like a 2 to I don't want to say 5 seed, 2 to like a 4 seed is where they probably would be the best to sit. So yeah, for those 2 reasons. 1, because I don't think they will, and 2, because I don't want them to be a 1 seed.
Sounds good. Yeah, I mean, I think that they can be the 1 seed. I just don't think that they're going to make it happen. I feel like they've already fell too far behind. Granted, they're only 3 games behind the Nets, the Heat, the Nets, who are in the lead right now at 13-5. But they are only 1 loss away from moving all the way down to 13th and out of the playoffs.
Mhm.
So we are in a tough race. I feel like it's better to be up higher than lower, I feel like, just because home court.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, in the East, again, Brooklyn, you have to bank on Brooklyn, Miami, Chicago kind of built a team overnight there. They're looking really good this year. The Hornets, LaMelo Ball over there,
the Knicks.
Wizards. Yeah, these are all really good teams that the Bucks would have to bank on them having a couple weeks shit streak. And I don't see it, all
Hawks
of them
are on a 5-game
doing it.
winning streak. Celtics are on a 3-gamer. Like, teams are coming.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, my first question for you here. The Pelicans sit 3-16 as they await Zion's return. He is hopeful to be back sometime in December, for sure by the end of the calendar year. When he does return, do you see the Pelicans getting back to a 500 record at some point in the season, or is their hole too deep to come back out of?
13 games, it's a lot, and it's only going to get bigger having him out of the lineup. I don't think they have any chance of getting to 500.
Yeah, I agree. Every time I see anytime, I mean, kind of with his comeback, Klay Thompson's comeback, Jamal Murray's comeback, there's a handful of guys that are kind of coming off big injuries from last year. Kawhi as well. He's starting to participate in some shooting drills and stuff like that. But yeah, all those teams, when they get that player back, they are in contention to make a playoff run. Unfortunately for Zion and the Pelicans, with or without him, even if the Pelicans were, instead of 13 games back, say half that, 7, 6, 7, 8 games back, I still think that it'd be too deep of a hole. So the fact that they're 13, their back 13 is too tough, even though they are in a division with the Spurs and the Rockets, two teams they can easily beat. I don't know how many times they played them this year, but those are kind of the only guaranteed wins that you're going to get in this league in that division. So, yeah.
Sounds good. With offense kind of taking the front seat in the NBA, defense being overlooked, who do you think is the best defensive player in the league?
Ooh, that's a good one. I mean, two guys come to mind. One who's been dealing with injuries and had a suspension, Nikola Jokic, last year's MVP. Again, like you said, everybody likes to see offense. Nobody likes to see low scoring NBA games. So Nikola Jokic is good on both fronts, to where he's a big part of that offense, but he comes up with timely blocks, good in the paint, things like that. The other guy that comes to mind is, for the Miami Heat, Bam Adebayo, another center. And I feel like because the NBA doesn't like to have repeat like winners for awards, I don't know what the odds are right now. But I like Bam Adebayo right now. He's I mean, the Heat defense is one, I think, still top 5 in the league right now as far as points per game given up. Without him, that Heat team would probably be not nearly as good. At least defensively, they're going to give up a lot more points. As for the Nuggets, without Jokic, they've shown that they can win games and still stay relevant. So, if as far as the defensive player of the year, kind of that MVP stature, I would put Bam Adebayo slightly ahead of Jokic, but Jokic, again, still kind of in that same ballpark.
Yeah, sounds good. I currently would give defensive player Draymond Green. The reason why this Warriors team has been shut down, Golden State so far actually has a defensive rating of 99.3, the only team below 100 per 100 possessions. Green being a huge part to this. Their defense is off to some earth-shattering numbers, as last year the Bucks had the best defense in the league. They averaged 120.1 points a game against them. Golden State currently has a 5-point lead on that right now, 115.1. And it's only been getting smaller and smaller. Man, I just can't. Especially with him finishing 3rd last year in the voting. Rudy Gobert obviously winning Defensive Player of the Year. Ben Simmons got 2nd. Ben Simmons not in the equation. Draymond Green stepped up his game, as he obviously doesn't want to be forgotten about. It's Curry, Klay Thompson, it's the boys, it's the young guns. No, Draymond's here to stay. I love his defense, love how he plays, and I think he's the best defensive player in the league so far this year.
Yeah, he's definitely a guy up there too. He definitely came to mind too when you asked the question, but I was like trying to kind of, I guess, give props to other guys in the league, just because Draymond Green is that perennial guy. Not that it's more or less like, oh, it's annoying that he's there. It's like annoying that he's there because it's like, damn, this guy doesn't quit. Like, he's always that good. So, yeah, I definitely agree with you as far as kind of having him up in that conversation as well.
And then another person I would even put in that conversation, Miles Turner from the Indiana Pacers, currently leading in total blocks and blocks per game. He clears by 16 total blocks through all other players in the league. So dude's been shutting it down around the paint, hence why Indiana's doing pretty good this season.
Sounds good. My last question for the NBA for you here. Steph Curry is the early runaway MVP, as the Warriors are having a great season. The next four players with the shortest odds to win the award are Nikola Jokic, Jimmy Butler, Durant, and then Giannis. Which of these four players has the best chance to give Curry some competition?
It's gonna be KD. I feel like these two teams are going to be battling it out this season for the best record in the NBA. Who walks away with that, I feel like, is going to be crowned MVP. Obviously, Steph has a big lead right now with what he's been doing with Klay Thompson and their other injuries that they've had. But KD, without Kyrie as well, holding them to the front of the charge. I see KD being I don't think they're going to give it to Giannis again. So I'm not going to put his name in that conversation. KD and Steph kind of separated themselves from everybody so far.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, it's again, Steph is the early runaway. Just when you think it's like he like plateaus for maybe one game and then he takes off again, there hasn't really been any lulls in his gameplay since the start of the year. So, yeah, I agree with you, Durant. Even though Giannis is fifth, an interesting stat, and I actually just pulled it up here quick to make sure I was referencing it correctly. Giannis is on track to become the first player to achieve this stat line for 4 straight seasons of 25 points per game, 10 rebounds per game, and 5 assists per game through 4 straight seasons. So, again, when the Bucks were in their lull the last couple weeks, Giannis was still putting up high 20s, 30, 40-point games just to kind of keep the team relevant and give them a chance to win these games. And now that they got Chris Middleton back, Drew Holiday back, they're still looking to get Lopez back. As soon as the Bucks get healthy, again, just like the NFL, the NBA is the same way. Steph is a runaway MVP because the Warriors are the best team. Curry's playing his best ball. Giannis and the Bucks. Giannis is fifth on the MVP list because out of all these teams, the Bucks are the fifth team in line of these teams. So as the Bucks trend up, Giannis is going to play better. So I guess for me, it'd be Curry, Durant, Giannis as far as 1, 2, 3, kind of in the MVP race. Passing up Jimmy Butler and Jokic, which again, those two guys are having 2 great years as well. But there's other players on those teams that step up in
What
their.
about DeMar DeRozan? I can't believe his name's not in there. Lonzo Ball, I can't believe his name's.
Yeah, DeRozan is. There's a couple lists I've looked at where DeRozan's in that like 4, 5, 6 range on some
And
lists.
he just broke Michael Jordan's all-time franchise record for first 16 games and points with the Bulls.
Yeah, that was crazy to see. That is weird with how good the Bulls are playing again, with how they're in that spotlight, how DeRozan isn't really in that conversation. I mean, give it time. We're like a quarter of the way through the season. So
yeah, 4 weeks in.
Yeah, it'll all sort itself out. But yeah, Curry's kind of the runaway at the moment.
Sounds good. And then my last basketball question: with the Lakers struggling out of the gates, do they make the playoffs this season?
They are. I think I saw last night because they lost to the Knicks.
They're 9-10.
9-10. Only the third time in LeBron's career that he got to 10 losses before 10 wins. And I think in both of his those other times were in Cleveland and they did not make the playoffs. I'm going to say that they miss because, again, how good – I mean, basically the top 2 in the West are a lock. Warriors, Suns. They're kind of a lock at this point. Teams that are trending up, the Clippers are still looking good. Paul George is playing lights out with the absence of Kawhi Leonard. Portland was off to a slow start. I think they started the year 3-5. They're now rolling. They've won the last 4 or 5. They're looking really good. I think they're like 8-1 at home this year. So they're going to be a tough place for road teams to go in and get a win. Again, the Jazz, Nuggets, there's a lot of really good teams, and the Lakers are quickly falling behind, blowing leads. I think when they showed a stat line last night that the Knicks and the Lakers are the 2 teams that have blown the most leads. the Lakers have blown 6 20-point plus leads this year. So they don't blow those 6 games. They're sitting up there right in the midst of the top teams in the West. So the
That
fact
just goes to shows that the NBA doesn't care about defense anymore.
yeah, that's
Having 20-point swings, teams winning by 60. It's all about offense. No one really gives a shit about defense anymore. And that's why the teams that do have defense are always at the top.
yeah. Yeah, I guess this kind of ties into Monday's question of did we see LeBron win his last championship? And him missing out on the playoffs this year kind of ties into that narrative. And yeah, I think that they missed this year. I mean,
I think they're going to make it.
Like barely, or do you
one-
think that they're going to like turn around and be one of the better teams?
I think they're going to be somewhere between 5 and 8.
So like in the play-in, most likely.
Yeah. I don't see them having home court advantage. I see them being in the bottom 4. Bottom 4 teams battling it out.
Because they're doing the
But
play-in again this year. So technically
Are
the
they?
top, I think so. I think they said they're tweaking it a little bit, but they're going to have the same structure. So
I hate that. That's so stupid.
so it's technically 10 teams. There's 20 teams technically playing a playoff game this year, and there's only 10 that aren't.
That's dumb.
Yeah.
Well, if they got the plan, then yeah, they're definitely gonna make it.
But like all the way, like just because they make it to the play-in tournament doesn't mean they're going to make the playoffs. If they go to the play-in tournament, do you see them making it to the playoffs as a 6th seed? Because if you're anywhere from 7 to 10, you're stuck in that play-in.
I believe they get it figured out by then. I just don't see them going. I don't see them going a far run in the playoffs. I do see them making it though.
Sounds good. Over to the NHL then here. My first question for you. Mr. Ovechkin sits 21 goals behind Jaromir Jagr for third on the all-time goals list. He is averaging a pace of 0.79 goals this season and 0.61 goals per game in his career. This puts him on pace to move into third all-time in 23, 24 games, somewhere between there. Does he surpass it faster or slower than that 23-game mark?
I think he's going to pass it. Due to the fact they're at home tonight against the Canadiens, who have been struggling. There's a chance for a couple. They do place the Blackhawks, Jackets, who are also struggling. They have the Blackhawks twice. They have the Canadiens again. They got a couple teams that they're facing that aren't doing really hot, and I see them doing it.
Faster than 23 games?
Faster than 23.
Yeah, I think so as well. I mean, it's amazing that over his career, he's averaged 0.61, which is, I think Gretzky was 0.60. So he's a 100th better as far as scoring goals in his career. But this late in his career, almost a full 0.2 more goals scored per game, which is amazing. The guy just he ages like a fine wine at this point. So, yeah, and given there's streak of games ahead, he has an opportunity to score 1, if not 2 goals. Do you think we see a hat trick out of him this year?
Yeah, I think we might.
Which would obviously help his case.
He has it going this year. Like if there was going to be a year that he was going to have like a lull year, I would have thought that this would have been it. Contract year, kind of figuring out what he wants to do for the rest of his time. But no, he's came out guns blazing. He's tied for second in the NHL in goal scoring with 15, only 3 back from Draisaitl. I mean, he's on fire. Second in the league in goals, and he's third in the NHL in points behind Draisaitl and McJesus. Like, he's having a fucking phenomenal year, especially for how old he is.
Yeah.
He's like having like a Brady season.
Mm-hmm.
He's not aging.
Him, Brady, Rogers, all these guys that doctor over in the Himalayan mountains or something, some meditation expert. They all must be hitting up the same guy with how well they're doing late in their careers.
Yeah, definitely something. My question for you, currently, with your Seattle Kraken team sitting 5-12, 5-12-1 on the year with 11 points, do you see them cracking 70 points on the season?
No. Kind of doing the math on it, they are almost a quarter of the way through the season. So
yeah, they're 4 games short of a quarter.
So they're pretty much on pace for what they're at right now for 50 to 60 mark. 60 if they get their shit together, maybe 65 if they can go on a little bit of a streak. 70 is kind of it's the ceiling for them. Like if they get to 70, it's gonna be like, holy shit, they put together some good lines. Grubauer, if he's a guy going forward, ended up standing on his head in the net throughout the year. I think like 55 to like 62 is kind of their ceiling this year for points. Again, 70 is a little high. Obviously, I'd like to see them get to 70. Like with how they started the year, again, that means they figured things out, and going into next year, they have a lot of confidence. But I mean, even if they can end the year with 60, I think that gives them confidence. So, but yeah, I don't think 70. I don't think they make 70 this year.
Yeah, I'm going to agree with you. I think 50-ish point mark, 50 to 55 is probably going to be around where they finish this season.
Yeah. I mean, they host Carolina tonight. So after a big win over the Capitals over the weekend, if they can put together a little streak, 2 games against the Capitals and the Hurricanes, like this could be their first streak of the year where they finally get rolling. But I mean, I don't know. It's going to be a tough game to watch. Obviously, I'm going to watch it, but I could see it getting out of hand early. Up to Canada with the Edmonton Oilers. McDavid had his 17-game point streak snapped last night in a 4-1 loss to Dallas.
And throwing in real quick, that was the first time he was held without a point in a regular season game since April 23rd of 2019.
Wow. That's impressive.
Yep. I saw that stat and I was like, are you fucking kidding me? Like he's gotten a point every single game. And it's like, yeah, he has.
Wow. I guess the question to that then, going forward, what is the secret to keeping Mr. McJesus under control?
Alex, when you're dealing with somebody that fast, time and space, because a guy who has that much skill and speed, who can create that much time and space when there isn't any, is giving him absolutely none to begin with. You almost have to have somebody kind of shadowing him on the ice anytime he wants to get those couple strides, a quick acceleration. Somebody's got to be in the way to either get in the way and bump him, or he's off to the races. I mean, he's already had 2 highlight goals this year where he's walked through the entire defense of 2 different teams. And with that little bit of space that you give, that's an ice. That's a full rink's worth of ice for a player like that. Just a little square is enough for him to make you look stupid. And that's the only way that you could slow down somebody who's that dominant, is you got to have somebody almost shadowing and getting in his way every single time. Obviously, you're not going to keep him from scoring on the power play and stuff because you're outmanned. And you're just going to let everybody else on their team score if you're just going to guard him the whole time. But there's really no perfect method in order how to stop him, unless you're getting him sick and he's not playing. That's about it.
Yeah, kind of looking at him, like I just thought of this now, kind of the way those 2 highlight goals he has, a lot of the games he has, I realize aren't a lot of shift changes when the other team is just kind of in that couple second lull of like figuring out their shift change and leaving that space open on the floor. Thinking of how comparing him to like Aaron Rodgers with his free plays of getting an extra guy on the field, where you get those 2 seconds of lapse on defense, to where everybody has their head turns. You take your eye off him for a second, boom, he's gone. Or Rogers is hitting you with a free. This is almost like a free play to him, where it's like, oh shit, it's just like, oh, just this tunnel opens up to the net where nobody's in front of him, and he just takes off.
That's a great comparison that you made, because it is like that, because if you do watch a lot of his goals, he goes back into his zone and with a lot of speed, where he's given himself that speed and space and time where he can be going full speed when he gets the puck, and everybody else who's not, just like you said, take advantage of those small little windows that you don't think the other team's paying attention, and they make it pay. That was a great comparison.
Yeah, I just thought of that like a minute ago. It's like try to, again, not being a huge hockey guy, like trying to make a comparison in my head. It's like it's almost like a free play to him.
Yeah, in a sense, if McDavid catches your team changing, that's pretty much a breakaway.
Yeah. So I guess kind of to keep him under control is to make your shift changes smoother, and making sure on a change, like you said, keeping a guy in his pocket to bump him, throw him off his pace for a second, just to let some guys get back.
And that's all it takes, is some guy being close enough to where he can't get that little bit of space, and that could be shut down. You could be completely shut down. Like hockey is so inch wise like that, where 1 inch literally makes the difference from your stick being able to get in the way and him being able to put it right over you into exact like 1/2 of an inch. And especially with a guy like who's that great of a superstar, you can't have any room for error, or he will make you pay. Which is insane that he's literally that good at hockey.
For that long, I didn't realize that his streak went back that far of scoring points.
Regular season points all the way back to 2019 during the regular season, which is insane. And then my last hockey question for you here. Or excuse me, I have 2 more. Speaking of Connor McDavid, do you see Connor finishing the league leading in scoring? Hence, he's 3 points behind teammate and line mate Leon Draisaitl, or 4 points behind. Excuse me.
Yeah, I mean, again, kind of going back to his one missed game without a point. Even though the guy's just out there having fun skating, playing hockey, putting pucks in the net, I'm sure that there's a small piece of him that's like, all right, time to go on another streak, to where even though Draisaitl is, like you said, he's ahead of him. So on paper, he's doing like 1% better than McDavid this year as far as scoring points. I think McDavid turns it back around. It's going to be fun to watch those two go back and forth. It's fun to see across the whole league 2 guys who are neck and neck going down the line with points. It's even more fun to see 2 guys on the same team, to where
and the same line,
where they're pushing each other. So it's only going to make them that the Oilers are going to be one of the teams to beat this year. They're kind of slowly under the radar. When I asked you on Monday, the first team to 20 wins, I didn't even think about throwing Oilers in the conversation, because they're second in their division right now. But anytime you have 2 guys in the same line pushing each other, you're gonna watch a lot of fun hockey. So yeah, I think he does pass Draisaitl, but it's gonna be close going all the way down the stretch, I think.
Yeah, I think those 2 are going to come within 1 to 3 points, kind of how the battle is now. I think it's going to stay that way all season long. And yeah, just like you said, this Oilers team is my dark horse pick to win the Stanley Cup this year, due to the fact that they haven't had the defense in years past. McDavid's been, quote unquote, a choke artist in the playoffs. They haven't gotten it done in the playoffs since he's been there. Them getting the defensive transactions and the pickups that they got over the offseason, bringing in a vet like Duncan Keith from Chicago and the couple other pickups that they have, this team is built perfectly balanced, to where Connor doesn't feel like he has to do it all. Like, he has his line mate leading the league right now in goals and in points. That takes a little bit of pressure off you, where you can kind of just go out and play your game and not really have to worry about it.
Yeah, that's a very good point. I know last year when we did um uh our hockey playoff bracket challenges, I had picked Edmonton to go the distance, but again, they just lacked some pieces on the defensive side. Um, and the things that they picked up this year, I think are going to help them go the distance. So it's going to be fun to watch because they have some teams in their way right now that are ahead of them. So they got some ground to make up. But again, arguably the best line in hockey between those two right now.
Yeah. Besides the Boston Bruins line, that is probably one of the greatest lines to ever play the game in history. These two and whoever you throw on their line, you could throw me on their line. They're fucking getting 100 points a year. Like they don't need a third player.
Yeah. Yeah, then my last question for hockey for you. Your Philadelphia Flyers missed out on the playoffs last year by 13 points. Currently just sitting 1 point back out of the top four in their division in the Metro. Do they get back into the postseason this year?
In hockey, it's top 3 in each, and then it's just the next two highest
Oh,
points,
okay.
no matter what. So them on the outside looking in right now, yeah, they are 1 point outside of it would be the wild card spots. I think with getting Kevin Hayes back finally, they have a couple other guys who have been dealing with some injuries. I feel like this team is about to boom. We're kind of on a 3-game shit streak right now. We have played some good teams. Haven't gotten the goaltending that we've wanted to, but I mean, can't really complain. I mean, I'm not really gonna sit and complain here. I think we make the playoffs. I think they have what it takes.
Yeah, I mean, they had a chance going down the stretch last year where they had to have a couple things go their way, and I feel like after they realized that they weren't going to make it anymore, then you can kind of because they like up until the last week they were like right there. So for them to finish 13 points out, you could just see that we're not going to make it. Fuck it, like kind of just toss the gloves on the ice. It's like all right, their year's done. So I feel like so long as they can stay ahead of that this year and not be on the outside looking in. Again, the Metro toughest division in hockey, so just to be in the top three, top four teams in that division, you're you're one of the top 8 probably overall teams in all of hockey. Just half of that division makes up some of the best teams. So, but I mean, I feel like they're in a good spot right now. Kind of being nobody's really talking about them. Nobody like a lot of these teams, kind of like the Oilers, even they're being overshadowed by the Flames right now. Even though McDavid's on the highlight reel every other night, they're still they're Calgary's the best team in that division right now, so they're still being overshadowed. So I feel like I don't know. I feel like teams that play in the shadows most of the year turn it on at the right time at the end, where the team that's in the spotlight for too long eventually crumbles at some point. Some of them stick it all the way through, but usually it's half and half. Like if there's 5 good teams, 2 or 3 of them stick it out, and then there's usually the other 2 fall off, whether again the pressure, injuries, whatever it might be, gets to them.
Yeah, prime example is Tampa Bay Lightning team that had the most points ever in the history. Lose first round, get swept to the Columbus Blue Jackets in the playoffs. Like the teams that are hot, just like you said, the teams that are in the shadows that kind of get to go through the year and not dealing with the media, not having to really kind of just get to play hockey night in and night out, not really worrying about anything else. Those are the teams that are the most dangerous. And one team that I totally passed over, Golden Knights. That's another team for everybody to keep their eyes out for. They have 3 of their whole first line with Eichel, Marchessault, and Stone all currently out. When they all get back, that team's going to be unbelievable, and they're trending up right now. They started the year, I think they were behind the Kraken to start the year, and now the Golden Knights find themselves 1 point out of the top 3 in that Pacific Division.
Yeah, I think actually.
And then my last question for you. Sorry.
No, I was just saying. I remember on opening night it was Kraken versus Knights, and Knights won. So I know they started out ahead, but I think, like you said, they had a couple games where they fell behind. But yeah, they've turned it on since then.
And then my last question for you. Do you think Sidney Crosby, arguably one of the greatest players to ever play the game of hockey, do you think him and the legendary Penguins who are still left, Malkin, Letang, from that group that won those Stanley Cups earlier with Fleury, do you think that he gets one more Stanley Cup before he retires?
What's his contract looking like? I mean, obviously they can renew it at any time,
Yeah,
but
he'll play forever. Or excuse me, he'll be a Penguin forever.
I mean, given
his contract as it currently stands, in 2021, he signed a 12-year, $104 million contract.
So through 30-33 or 33,
Or
20-33.
Excuse me. That was his first deal that he signed. Oh my fuck. After his minimum league deal, that's the deal that he signed. Was a 12-year, $104.4 million contract. He becomes a free agent in 25-26.
Okay, that's about the kind of the window I was looking
5
at.
years, 6 years.
Yeah, that's kind of the window I was looking at, where that Penguins team kind of has like a 3 to 5 year window, where if they are going to win another one with Crosby, like you said, he's going to be a Penguin for life. It's more, I guess, more or less, to be worth looking at the contracts of the other guys to see how long they're going to keep the rest of that team together. But realistically, with Crosby still in his prime, I mean, who knows? He could turn into an Ovechkin, where he has some left in the tank, and his last couple of years ended up being his best. But yeah,
So Evgeny Malkin is a free agent at the end of this year. His 8-year, $76 million deal expires. And then Letang, the last person. I spelled contact instead of contract. It was like, trying to find Chris Letang's contact. He becomes a free agent after this season as well. So 2 of the 3 are up for free agency at the end of the year, and they're both getting old.
So maybe that 3 to 5 year window isn't looking as promising.
Maybe it's not. No,
I don't know. I mean, obviously it'd be good for them to keep them, but also at the same time, if they can go and get some other pieces to some younger studs, where Crosby kind of becomes the lone vet on that team, and I don't know. Yeah, I'm gonna still stick with a 3 to 5 year window. Obviously, like you said, Crosby's going to be a Penguin for life, so it's not a matter of, if he leaves, obviously they have X amount of time to get another cup with him, but I don't know. Yeah, I'm going to stick basically again with the end of his contract. If they don't get one before that, I think it's going to be tough for them to get one after.
I agree with that. If they don't get one in the next, I was going to say 3-year window. They don't got a chance, I don't think. Unless Crosby literally betrays the city of Pittsburgh and goes to a cup contender at like the trade deadline to try to get one more. But I don't see him ever doing that since.
How many does he have with Pittsburgh?
4.
So he doesn't need to go chase a cup.
No, Crosby's won everything that there is to win in hockey. Juniors, international, fucking gold medal. He's won literally every single award that there is to win in hockey. He's won it. He's got 3 Stanley Cups.
Okay.
So he does not need it anymore.
Yeah.
2009, 2016, and 2017.
Yeah. It's a short window, but again, who knows what Pittsburgh does if they're able
He's
to hang
like
on
the
to those
Tom Brady.
guys.
He's like the Tom Brady of football. You can't bet against the motherfucker.
No. And
He's the
again,
one guy you can't.
and again, if they do get rid of those guys, think of how many people, like again, that Tom
Who are
Brady
they going to
effect.
get?
Who like how many people are going to want to come to Pittsburgh to play with the guy?
A lot.
Yeah.
I lose my two nuts to play with that guy.
Was that your last?
Yep, that was the
Okay.
last one.
Sounds good. Moving over then to more NCAA talk. This kind of opened up for any other college sports. Any chances, I guess, in college football as well to kind of throw some headlines out there. The first question I have for you is in college hoops. Last night featured a Final Four rematch between number 1 Gonzaga and number 2 UCLA. Gonzaga won by 20 and dominated from beginning to end. Will Gonzaga complete the perfect season this year, or will they fall short once again in this year's tournament?
They're going to fall short. They ain't going undefeated.
Do you think it's going to be? I mean, they took care of UCLA. I mean, obviously, it's super early in the year. It's like
it's going to be a rematch.
It's like a preseason game right now.
It's going to be a rematch. I think it's going to be a rematch. Both those teams are literally so good. I think it's going to be those two teams again on a collision course. Obviously, if the bracket's set up the way that they do, unless they meet beforehand, but
I'm sure they'll set it up.
I see these two teams meeting in March.
I'm sure they'll set it up so the earliest they meet is like the Elite Eight. I'm sure they wouldn't put them in any earlier than that.
Is that the first time a 1 can play a 1? No, it'd be the Final Four.
Yeah, Final Four. That's all 4 divisions playing each other. Well, yeah. Yeah, I agree with you there. I think last year was their only shot at a perfect season, and Baylor swooped in and took it from them. So I don't know where Baylor's at this year. I don't know where they're ranked, but they lost a couple of good guys.
They lost to everyone.
Yeah. So, I mean, if UCLA is their best chance, I don't know. I mean, I have to look at their. I mean, not tomorrow, Friday. Gonzaga plays Duke, so 1 versus 5 there.
In Coach K's last season too.
So that could be the first loss of the season.
Loss right there. Yeah, and then sticking with college basketball, the Badgers beat number 12 Houston by 2 points when they led by 20 at half. Do you see our Badgers team being promising this year and making a deep March run?
Yeah, I mean, again, kind of going back to how we were talking about in the NHL teams flying under the shadows. Wisconsin's currently unranked. I could see them getting a rank now after playing well in this Jim Maui tournament. They're actually in the finals against.
They play in the finals tomorrow.
Yeah, against St. Mary. If they win this tournament, they're kind of back on the radar. I feel like when that Wisconsin hoops are on the radar, they are on it for a very short amount of time, and then they quickly fall back out of it. So long as they can kind of fine if they're ranked, but I feel like the second that they crack into the top 10, they're in trouble. So I don't know. It'd be fun to see them make another deep run. I mean, it's been a handful of years since we saw Sam Decker, Kaminsky, Bronson, those guys, that trio lead them to a national championship appearance. So I don't see.
We're currently 9th in the Big Ten.
Yeah, because they still have just
Indiana,
one loss.
Iowa, Minnesota, Purdue, Northwestern, Maryland, Michigan State, and Ohio State are all ahead of Wisconsin.
Yeah. I mean, that's just because of preseason rankings. I feel like half those teams are. I know Ohio State was ranked.
Indiana's 5-0, Iowa's 5-0, Minnesota's 4-0, Purdue's 5-0, Northwestern's 5-1, Maryland's 4-1, Michigan State's 4-1, Ohio State's 4-1, and Badgers are 4-1. And then it also takes into consideration strength of schedule, points for, points against.
Yeah. Which I mean, again, with a 4-1 record and you're ninth in your conference, like
The Big Ten stacked in
yeah,
basketball.
they're gonna have a tough schedule this year. So if they can come out with a I don't know 4-5 loss record come tournament time,
And they already got one.
yeah, well, that's what I'm saying. If they only suffer another 3 or 4 losses through the rest of the year in conference play, they're sitting in a good spot. But that date, I mean, it was cool to see Brad Davison come back for one more year, and then that Davis, I think, yeah, freshman, he's looked really good. Every time on the floor, he gets better and better. So, um,
We play Indiana too. December 8th in Madison. So that could be the
I,
big
I think that
swear-down right away.
starts. Yeah, that's their first game in conference play, I think.
Yeah, it is. Because then they play Ohio State right after that. Nicholls State? Who the fuck is Nicholls State?
some small
Nicholls
D1
State,
school.
Morgan State.
So they throw 2 big games and then they throw 2 nobodies right after.
Yeah. That's funny.
Well, they're
Oh,
probably
looks like
like,
we got a pretty big showdown against Georgia Tech in Atlanta on December 1st.
oh, that's was that the Big Ten ACC showdown or whatever they call that?
Yep. Yeah, but this ain't gonna be easy cakewalk this year.
No, like I said, where they're sitting right now, they're not expected to do anything. So if they do, awesome. If they don't, nobody was expecting them to. But I mean, they're going to be in the turn. I feel like they're going to be in the tournament. Probably one of those mid seeds, so they're going to be stuck playing a 2 or 3, probably second round. But I don't know. We'll see what happens. And then my second question, back to college football here. The first 4 teams out of the college football top 6 are Oklahoma State, Baylor, Ole Miss, and Oklahoma. Who has the best shot of sneaking into the top 4?
Oklahoma.
Yeah, I'd say Oklahoma State would be the next closest right behind them, only if they beat them the next 2 weeks. Would that be a statement for them? Again, at number 7, they have the shortest distance to get to 4. Oklahoma has the longest distance to get from 10 to 4 out of these 4 teams, which is weird because, yeah, Oklahoma, I think, has the best odds to do it, but they have the farthest ranks to move up. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know who Ole Miss plays, but they're, again, in the SEC. They're not even going to be in a championship game, so this weekend's their last game to play.
Yeah, and then my last question for you. Wisconsin Badgers women's hockey currently ranked number 1 in the country with a record of 15-0-1. Do they repeat as back-to-back national champions?
Has that ever been done?
I don't know.
I feel like if there's a women's team to do it, I mean, just like following their scores, like following Badgers women's hockey, like on Instagram, and just like getting score notifications and stuff like that every time they play, they're taking it to.
And we would already be 3 times if the season wasn't canceled due to COVID-19. So technically, this is going for the 4-peat.
Oh, yeah, I feel like every team they play, again, with 0 losses on the record, every good team that they've played so far this year, I feel like they've won by a landslide, like a lot of 4-1, 5-1 games where they're just easily handing everybody.
Yeah, their one tie was to the University of Minnesota,
which is to be expected, a Minnesota school to give them a run for their money.
And they're ranked 4th. Ohio State's 2nd.
Yeah, I mean, obviously it'd be awesome to see them do it. Nobody's really stood in the way. Like I said, every score I see, it's lopsided. They never really have any close games. So I don't know if have they played Ohio State yet?
Yeah, they've played them 4 times. I think they're 4-0 against them, 3-0 against them.
Oh, then
I
yeah.
watched 2 games on television, and Wisconsin beat them both games.
Yeah, I mean, it's tough to do in any sport, but I mean, it's I don't know. It's almost a given at this point that they like I said, nobody stood in their way. Nobody's made it close. So once playoff time comes, you go in with that kind of swagger. Good luck standing in their way to try to knock them out.
Yeah, I agree. I think they're going to run the table unless they get tripped up by Ohio State or Minnesota. Those are going to be the only 2 teams that I think that have a shot to take them down.
Yeah, sounds good. That's all I had for today.
Yeah, that's all I had too. Thanks everyone for stopping by. With the holidays coming up, hope you guys all have safe travels and safe day with your family and friends, however you choose to celebrate it. We'll be back on Monday. Have a great weekend, everyone.
Happy Thanksgiving, everybody.